So I have my paper on fold. Okay, as we proceed, you will understand why I have this paper on fold. And I've drafted like a very basic bodice pattern, as this from here to here is the length of my wrap top, and this is 1 inch for allowance. From here to here is my neck width of 3 inches. This is the neck depth for the back, 1.5 inch, and this is the neck depth for the front, 7 inches. Of course, this is my chest line, this is my bust line, and I just took my horizontal measurement with 1.5 inches allowance by the side. So I'm going to cut this out. I'm just going to place this now on a piece of fabric to cut out for the back piece. So I have this placed on my fabric. I'm working with a light crepe fabric. Okay, and now I'm just going to cut as is for the back. So opening this up, you see what we have for our back pattern. So this is my back piece. I'm just going to notch the center top and center bottom. Okay, and because this fabric is really tricky, I need to indicate that this is the wrong side of the fabric. So now let's move on to the front pattern. So we're working on our front top right now. Opening up our pattern paper, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, and then the next thing to do is, don't forget, this is the back neck depth and this is the front neck depth, and this is my, well, center front, center back. So on this side of the fabric, you want to make sure that you have at least 1/4 of your waist measurements, and 1/4 of my waist measurement is 7 inches. I'm going to add 1/2 inch for stitching my belt, so this is 7.5 right here. At this point, I'm also going to be coming up by 3 inches. And this 3 inches is because I want my belt to be 2.5 inches wide, and I would need 1/2 inch for turning. So this is 3 inches here. I'm just going to extend this line. Okay. Now the next thing to do is to connect from this point all the way to this point. But whilst connecting, make sure that you're not going in too deep, because when you go in too deep, there'll be too much cleavage revealing. So I'm just going to gently connect this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out. Let me just square this all the way to the bottom. And so now I'm going to just cut this out. And also I'm going to take in the 1/2 inch for my front armhole to avoid any bulge at this area. And this is what our front pattern looks like. So I'm going to place this now on the fabric. I have my fabric here on fold actually. Okay, right sides facing each other, and I've placed my pattern paper on it this way. I had to pin it down so that it doesn't move. So right now what I'm going to do is just cut out as is. So I'm just going to make notches on the 1 inch bending allowance, and I'm also going to notch my center front. At the bottom, and also at the top. After cutting, this is what we have, and when you open it up, of course, right side, this is the right side and this is the right side, and this is why I made mention to notch the center front, so that when you place them on each other, you can actually see the wrap effect and know where your center front is. So this is what we have. The next step now is to join the front piece to the back piece at the shoulder line, and equally to join them by the side using whatever allowance you left. So I'm going to be joining by the side using 1.5 inches allowance which I left. So after stitching, this is what I have. So it's important to note that I stitched it all the way. I closed both ends. There are different ways of making wrap tops. This is just one way of making it. So the next thing to do is to work on your bands. You need bands, and the length of this and the width of this actually totally depends on you. What I have here measures 6 inches in width and 36 inches in length. You'll be needing, of course, 2 pieces for the front and the right part of your wrap top. So all you need to do is take this to the sewing machine, front sides facing each other. So I did some kind of decorative cut here, and then you would run a stitch all the way from here to here until the full length of it. But you would leave this place open because this is where you're going to be attaching to your wrap top, and this is where you need to turn out your belt from. So I will stitch this and I will stitch this, and we'll see what it looks like. Used it with light interfacing, and this is because I'm working with a lightweight crepe fabric, and if I don't do that, this belt will not hold properly. So then the next thing to do is to get our wrap top. I've held down the 1 inch allowance with the use of a hemming gum. Okay, I'm going to take one piece of my belt, and whenever you're attaching your belt, you want to make sure that the joining is at the bottom, not at the top. So I'm just going to take one piece like this and get the front part of my wrap top. This is the right side of my wrap top, okay? And I'm just going to do it this way. So I have like about 1/4 of an inch left here and about 1/4 of an inch left here at the bottom. If you want, you can take it all the way to the bottom, but I just want to spread out the allowance this way. Okay, so I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I will run a stitch holding both pieces together. I will do that for this side and I will do that for this side as well with this piece of belt. After stitching your belt together, this is what you should have. This is what it should look like, but don't be afraid. Okay, we're going to finish up this neckline using a bias. So you want to make sure you're using a matching bias. However, when you go fabric shopping, you will find out that there are some colors that you would never find a perfect match, and I think this is just one of them. So this is the nearest color of bias that I could find, so I'm just going to use that to finish up all these rough edges, and when I do that, I will show you and then we can work on the sleeves. So I have unfold 2 pieces of fabric here, and the length of this, of course, is the length of the sleeve that I want, but this is about 24.5 inches long and 38 inches wide. So unfold, this is 19 inches and this is 24.5 inches. Don't forget, we're going to kind of like, it's going to be like a gathered sleeve here, and it's going to have elastic at the bottom. So you can go as wide as you want. It all depends on your preference. So what I'm going to do right now is just come down about maybe 5.5 inches at this point here, or even 6 inches. 6 inches is fine, and just kind of like create my curve with my free hand. We're really going to gather this, so it really doesn't matter. I'm just creating a curve here with my free hand. Then for the wrist area, my round wrist measurement is 8 inches. Don't forget that this is on fold, so I'm going to take more than my round wrist measurement because I'm going to be using a gathers on this part. I initially thought I wanted to do 10, but I think I will increase it to 12. I will increase it to 12, and then this includes 1 inch sewing allowance. So I'm just going to connect this line to this line. For my elastic, I'm going to be making use of an half, well, it's not even up to half inch, but then 0.5 inch elastic. So like I said, my wrist measurement is 8 inches. Is 8 inches about. So I'm going to be cutting out 9 inches length of elastic for both sleeves. You could do 10 if you don't want it snugly fit, but of course it's going to expand, so it's fine. So what we want to do right now is to take this to the sewing machine and then create the casing using the 1 inch allowance that we left. So I'm going to do that, and I'll also use the opportunity to pass my elastic through the casing, and I will close up the sleeve using 1 inch on this side. I will do that for both pieces. So I'm done fixing the elastic into the sleeve, and this is what it looks like. The next thing right now is to attach this to our wrap top. Okay, and then what you want to do actually is make sure that you match this seam line to this seam line like this, and then you create some puffs or some gathers around this place, around the shoulder line, and this is what it's going to look like. So I will do that quickly for both sides. After attaching our sleeves, this is the final look of the wrap top. So just going over it again, I attached the belt. I also piped the rough edges with my bias, and I attached our balloon sleeves. So I hope you found this tutorial very useful. Thank you so much for watching up to this point. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till my next video, bye bye.